So this is going to be an unusual vlog. It's about millennials, something I've been observing about that generation. A little younger than me, just a little bit. A couple things. Number one, I think millennials are likely the most streetwise generation, at least in my lifetime. And the reason I believe that is because there's just so much information out there flowing around. Of course, you got different groups. You got the people on the left, people on the right, et cetera, and we all have our bubbles that we live in, and that's a problem. But generally speaking, I think millennials are far more aware of things. Let me give you an example. For instance, a lot of millennials are saying that they question the need to go to college. They question the need to go to university. They're questioning traditional institutions and ways of thinking. When I was growing up, it was without a doubt you went to college, you went to university. Like if you didn't go to university when I was at that age, you were a loser. It was like no question. Now, because of the student loan debt, because the way the job situation has evolved, the millennials are getting pretty wise. And they're saying, well, maybe I don't need to go to university. Maybe it's overstated. So that's something very new, something I didn't see when I was growing up, that's for sure. Another interesting thing, maybe more interesting to me, is that I was reading about how even the younger than millennials, I know that generation, they asked them whether or not, what are the professions that they would want to aspire to as adults? Now, traditionally, it's like actor, a sports star, and I don't know, musician. Those are the big three. But for the first time ever since they've been doing this quiz, this survey, they said entrepreneur was number one. Entrepreneur. This blows my mind because when I started my first business when I was 18, I started working on it when I was 17, but it went when I was 18. It was a very unusual thing. These days, though, millennials, they're thinking about becoming entrepreneurs. It's like it's at the top of the list. This is a kind of a new thing. So I think just for that reason alone, I feel a certain respect with that because, I don't know, I guess it reminds me a little bit of myself, but having that awareness to look at, hey, you know what, maybe I should start a business. Maybe that might work for me. That's a very interesting point of view that I never saw in at least my generation or later generation. So it's very cool that millennials are aware of this now. And I think, again, it's because of the free flow of information, shows like Shark's Tank and Dragon's Den and all the IPOs. So people are seeing all this stuff for the first time in a big way, where it was a little bit black hat, a black box, if you will, this kind of stuff in the past. So that's kind of a new thing. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying getting a job is bad. Some people do fantastic at jobs. And some people thrive in that situation, and you know, all the people that you see on TV, they all work for somebody. They are all employees. All those sports stars on TV, they are all employees. Of course, they're the top of the best of the employees, and they're not examples you should necessarily aspire to because they're super rare. It's like lottery ticket winners. Something I told people in my business course, that most people who become wealthy, financially independent, they do it with small businesses that earn good money year after year after year, and it just builds and builds and builds and builds. In fact, think about it. If you're making 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 times more than the average person, so that's not like sports star money, that's not rock star money, but it's really good money. But let's say you're making 5 times what the average person is making. Within 5 years, you can earn as much as somebody else would take 25 years. So essentially, their entire lives, the average person, they have to work what you just made in 5 years as just a low-key entrepreneur. Think about that. In 5 years, you're basically, and if you save, you manage your money properly, invest it properly, you're probably pretty good for retirement. Maybe you do a little bit better. Maybe you do 6, 7 times the average person. All of a sudden, you can get into a retirement situation within 4 years. Right? You see what I mean? So it's an interesting thing about the millennials. They're much more aware because of the amount of information's out there, so they see things that we didn't see in previous generations. If you are a millennial watching this, though, don't discount experience and knowledge, because as you are learning, as you're developing yourself, some things may not be obvious to you that somebody my age can see and identify, and you can't see and identify yet. Not because you're dumb, it's just because of experience. There's something that experience reveals to you over time. And I remember it happened to me a long time ago in martial arts, where I had been doing martial arts for several years at this point in the story, about 9 years. But the mistake I made is I would jump around different styles. I didn't take my skill set, I didn't make it deep enough, because I was an intermediate level guy in judo, intermediate level in Japanese kyokushin, intermediate level taekwondo, intermediate level catch Campbell, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So one of my coaches, one of my teachers pulled me aside and said, Stef, you've been training for 9 years and you know all the stuff, but you're still just an intermediate level guy. He said, you got to take one style and focus on that and get really good, and then it will raise your game, and then you become an expert in all the styles that you've done. And it didn't quite compute for me at that time. It really didn't get it, because I didn't understand how important fundamentals were at that time. Anyhow, long story short, I decided to take a leap of faith. I decided to listen to this guy, because I figured this guy's been training for 25 years. He must know what he's talking about. He's a good fighter too. He must know what he's talking about. He has a perception of reality of things that I just don't have yet, because my brain is not mature enough yet. Your brain keeps developing, maturing up until I think your mid to late 20s. I think it's about 25 or so. So keep that in mind. So if you're a millennial, yes, I think that you guys, because of freedom, all this information, you're much more aware of previous generations. But you still have to give yourself a chance for your brain to mature and be willing to accept that, you know what, I may not be right about this because I'm still a little young, which is a good thing, by the way. I would give away all my money if I could be 20 years younger. Oh, no problemo, like this. If somebody, doctor said, yeah, it's going to take all your money, Stef, everything you got, we'll give you a pill, and it's going to make you 20 years younger. I would do it without even hesitating. I would rather do it because you could always make more money. Anyhow, all right, that's it. I hope this vlog is useful. It's just something I found personally very curious and interesting to watch. And I guess maybe my psych background makes it interesting to me to see how the culture changes and how the people change. And I think it's going to become even more sophisticated over time because of the huge changes in technology that are just around the corner. But I'll have to leave that for another vlog. Ciao, guys.